This, well, this is a Yamaha YZ65. This is a toy for 3-year-old, 4-year-old Chris to dream about. That is the new MT-09 SP. That is what current Chris is excited by. And this, next, is what we got up to on it. The MT-09 has always been a bit of a special bike to me. It is the first bike that I rode for a long time from Yamaha that was properly bonkers. I'll even go out on a limb and say, out of the Japanese manufacturers, the MT-09 was a real change. It was a bike that suddenly became irresponsible and childish and wanted to do wheelies everywhere. It was cheap, fast, fun, and an absolute blast to ride. That was the first MT-09. We're on the latest generation now, and this one is the MT-09 SP. Now, Kev Raymond rode this, the non-SP version already, but this is the first time I've had a chance to take the MT-09, particularly the SP version, out for a proper spin. So what do you get with the SP? A few refinements here and here. Cruise control's new, the obvious bit, bright gold KYB forks on the front, and an Öhlins shock on the rear. That was one of the things on the original MT-09 that was criticised a little bit. The suspension, when you pushed it hard, was not fancy pants suspension, so it did run out of kind of control and composure. Yamaha say they've fixed that with these new bits. And as Kev mentioned in his launch report, they have done loads throughout this MT-09 to improve it. Now, the bit I was nervous about was whether they'd lost the hooligan character. I loved the MT-09 for how childish it made you. With all the refinements, with new traction control, ABS, all these fancy bits, had they lost that character? Well, that was what I came here to find out today. The boys at Bike World said I've got to do a grown-up road test. They said I've got to go and talk about how it is to ride on the road, what it's like in the real world, all those very important things. So I went out and I did just that. Sensible grown-up road testery review questions. Well, the mirrors were adequate and the controls fell easily to hand. It's boring, isn't it? I can't even pretend. Now, on the road, the MT-09 SP, I have to put you in context here. It was 2 degrees when we left the dealership this morning. It was brand new tyres, slippery, dusty, typical winter British roads. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that the new chassis is dynamically improved and I can get my knee down better, because quite frankly, I didn't. My knee was a long way from the floor. What I did find with the new bike is very, very easy to ride. Now, this is something I've said recently about the KTM 890 Duke R, or Duke 890R, or whichever way around it is, and the MT-09 pulls the same trick. Really light clutch, the fueling and throttle response, especially compared to the old MT-09, is a squillion times better. For that kind of slow speed, cold morning, awkward riding, it is absolutely a million times better than the old MT-09, and just a great, easy to ride bike. Now, there are two ends of the spectrum where that matters. One end of the spectrum is when you want to do power slides and stunts and wheelies and skids and jumps and all that crazy stuff. By having a bike that has got a really easy, predictable clutch and a good throttle response, it makes that stuff easier because you know what the bike's going to do. You don't have to spend so long double guessing your inputs. At the other end of the spectrum, if you're a nervous rider or just not ridden for a while, or you just want a bike to be nice and easy to ride, it'll look after you there too. More confidence, more control, more smiles. Great success. Other little bits and pieces I found on the road with this one. I'm not going to say that the suspension's miles better because I really didn't get the opportunity to test it. I'd want a good, dry, sunny road, and some bumps and a mixture of surfaces before I would hang my hat on any verdict on what the KYB fork Öhlins shock combo is like. What I can tell you is rode the bumps well, never ever got out of control or felt like it was rebounding and doing wild stuff. It was always very, very plush and very, very controlled. That's about all I could say from today's test. It also looks really nice. I don't know if that's important or not, but I think it is. It looks cool, so big tick from the start department. Engine in the MT-09, obviously it's still the triple cylinder that they brought out in the original bike, but it's kind of been fiddled with to make it better. Euro 5, blah, 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 blah. It's got more power and more torque everywhere, and it's smooth. I'm bored of myself already. It's just a lunatic engine. It's punchy, it's revvy. At the bottom of the revs, it's got a really nice clean response, and then pretty much just keeps making power all the way through to a little blast at the top end. They've taken what was a great engine in the original MT-09, fixed the throttle response, and just added a bit more everywhere. It's got a bit more go, a bit more power at the top, a bit more shove at the bottom, without kind of sacrificing any of the good characteristics that the bike had before. The quick shifter, brilliant, really smooth up and down, no jolts, no jerks, and that's whether you're in full attack mode or bumbly through town mode. So the two-way quick shifter, I was really impressed with. Same as the throttle modes, you could put it into a softer drive mode with less power, and there's a huge change between each of those modes. And in the softest mode, it is an absolute pussycat of a thing. Having that flexibility built into the bike, I think, is only a good thing. Crazy at one end, easy at the other. A few things that I want to pick on the MT-09. There's not a lot. There's honestly not a lot not to like about this bike. It is just a good, honest, fun bike. If you try and ride it miles up and down the motorway, yep, you'll moan that the tank range is shit and there's no wind protection. It's not for that. It's for skids and wheelies and going around corners and riding on a Sunday for sheer pleasure. ABS. I love ABS, I think it's very, very good. There isn't the option to turn off the rear wheel ABS on this bike. So you can't leave the front ABS on and do skids. You have to pull the fuse out or apparently wheelie for a mile and then that turns the ABS off. It's just the one bit out of the whole MT-09 that I felt was missing was the ability to have like a skid hoon mode within the ABS system. Outside of skids and wheelies, the ABS worked really well, and you get a cornering ABS and your regular ABS. So proper step up in technology for the bike. Same with the traction control. You can separate slide control, wheelie control, and actual spinning traction control. Mucked around with those settings, found that when I had it on and it was working, it was smooth, not too intrusive. And when I wanted to do wheelies, I turned everything off and there she goes. In terms of technology, they've kind of upgraded everything, but they haven't spoiled the bike with it. And that is a good thing in my eyes, because this bike is supposed to be a hooligan bike. It always was. In my eyes, it always will be. And I'm really pleased that they've kept the mad character. When you nail the throttle on a bumpy road, the front does this little kind of supermoto-esque handlebar wiggle thing, which the old one did and the new one did. And I love it because it makes you feel like you're really pushing the bike. It gives you that kind of fizzy feeling of feeling like you're going fast and you're doing cool stuff. Other than that on the road, I really didn't have much to pick on it. It is comfy enough for a couple of hours of road blasting, fun Sunday afternoon, hooning bike, bloody awesome. Good job, MT-09. So we did the good road testy bit, we did the being a grown up and making sure it actually works as a road bike. But, well, frankly, I got bored and then we went and had some fun. So Yamaha took us to a massive Cold War airfield bunker thing. I don't know what it was cool. There was a massive runway. There was loads and loads of concrete strips and pads and waste grounds and trees and bomb holes and bunkers. Everything you could possibly want to go nuts on an MT-09 and put a big smile on your face. And that we did. One thing that's always important to test with the bike is what happens if you're doing donuts on a Cold War airfield landing pad on dust and gravel, and you have a little brain fart and you fall over. how does the bike cope with such a situation? Well, luckily I was here to test that. So on purpose, not by accident at all, on purpose, I did a small laydown and very, very good engine protection on the right-hand side, very little damage, and the bike was able to continue riding and stunting throughout the rest of the test. So this is where you come for real-world consumer advice on your next motorcycle. Yamaha's MT-09 says it's for the dark side of Japan. I think it's for the dark side in all of us. Ding! God, that was horribly cheesy, but I don't think there's any dark side to it. It's just an easy to ride, fun bike that wants to do wheelies and skids until the cows come home.